Q and Review, celebrating 40 years of audio production, welcomes you to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast, recorded from our studio in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre and by our volunteers working from home. Keep up to date with Q and Review news via our Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at Q and Review, that's @CUEANDREVIEW, or get in touch with us directly by emailing information@qandreview.com, that's INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. Please like and share our podcast and give us constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, September 12. Scottish grassroots football facing crisis, reckons Douglas Ross. Report by Jodie Harrison. Grassroots football in Scotland is facing a crisis due to a lack of access to facilities, Scottish Conservative leader Douglas Ross has said. He was speaking in the House of Commons during an adjournment debate to mark 150 years of the Scottish Football Association. Ross, the MP for Moray, said that grassroots football is the lifeblood of the game in Scotland, but warned that young people in parts of Scotland are struggling to access the facilities needed to play. He told the Commons, "I think it's fair to say that Scotland is facing a crisis with facilities for football and people playing grassroots football. Now, more than ever before, many communities are faced with the stark reality that either there are not enough facilities to make sure that all levels of the game and all areas of the game are fully serviced, or, in too many cases, young people in particular are priced out of these facilities. Many new facilities get built by local authorities, by others, and then they simply become unaffordable. And often it's just the clubs that have money coming in that can afford them. I'd like us to more seriously look at the lack of facilities, the lack of availability of facilities in Scotland, to make sure they are there for the next generation." Ross read out a statement he said was provided by the President of the Scottish FA, Mike Mulroney, which said, "I ask that we pool our resources to ensure that this is a game that is accessible to all, with no barriers. For that, we need urgent investment, innovative thinking, and a collective will." Mr. Ross said, "Let us ensure that we do not just recognise the 150th anniversary by celebrating the past, praising the present successes, but let's also prepare for the future to give young people in Scotland that ambition outward-looking prospect of ability to play at whatever level they wish." Scotland Office Minister John Lamont said, "This United Kingdom government is committed to providing support to the grassroots game in Scotland as we look to inspire the next generation of footballers who will create their own legacy." This was a point well made by him in his opening speech about the importance of investment in grassroots sports. From 2021 to 2025, the UK government will provide the Scottish Football Association with over £20 million to build and improve grassroots football facilities the length and breadth of Scotland. Report by Jodie Harrison. Evening Times Sport, September 12. Hugh Jones insists Scotland were not caught out by South Africa. Report by David Barnes. Scotland centre Hugh Jones insists that his team were not caught out by South Africa's suffocating rush defence during Sunday night's defeat in Marseille, but suggested that they were powerless to counter that high-intensity approach because of a lack of quick ball to play with. He said, "We knew what they were going to do against us, and we had our plans around that, so maybe it was won and lost at the breakdown. They were piling in there pretty much every time, and maybe we lost some numbers in there dealing with that. Defensively as a team, I thought we were good, but we needed to put more phases together to get our attacking game working, which was something we did not manage to do. Discipline cost us at times. That was the combination that let us down. We were in the contest for pretty much most of the game. To hold them tryless under that sort of pressure was good. Then we thought we'd kick on and put our attacking game out there, but we did not manage to do that, and 10 minutes after half-time, they pulled away. Realistically, we have to go 3 from 3 in our remaining pool games now, and we are focusing on that. We have a bye week now, which gives us extra time to prepare for a massive game against Tonga on September 21, when we will be wanting to really put our game out there. We wanted to do that against South Africa, but didn't manage it. Now we have more time to prepare, and our destiny is still in our own hands." Meanwhile, Scotland attack coach Brad Moore claimed that the biggest lesson from the Springbok defeat is the importance of executing under pressure in big matches when scoring chances are at a premium. And he said, "There were a couple of opportunities in the first half that we needed to take. There was one off a line-out play and one off a free kick after a scrum when we had clear opportunities to score. And when you are playing these top-tier nations in big tests, you have to take those chances to shift scoreboard pressure and ask questions of the opposition. So for us, that's where it lies. There were other opportunities where we did not execute skill set-wise, or we didn't make the pass, and so we embrace the challenge." Report by David Barnes. Evening Times Sport, September 12. Postecoglou on Tottenham aims and leaving Celtic. Report by Aidan Smith. Ange Postecoglou has delivered a perfect response to Jim White as he was quizzed on how far he can take Tottenham Hotspur. The Aussie boss has made an instant impact at Spurs and has been shortlisted for the Premier League Manager of the Month award for August. Tottenham fans have been hugely impressed by Postecoglou's impact, and they can already see the style of play their new manager is trying to implement. Postecoglou told TalkSport, "There have been no real surprises. It's football. The challenges are expected. Everything and every time I walk into a role, there's a reason why I'm here. If things are going well, I wouldn't be here. My eyes are wide open, and I expected it to be tough, but we have had an encouraging start." On his decision to leave Celtic for Spurs, he continued, "I love a challenge. I've done it my whole career. Every step along the way, when I've decided to move, I've moved on the back of success. The fact this is one of the biggest clubs in the world that haven't had success for a very long time and was coming off the back of a poor season, that was a key driver for me. When you go into a challenge like that, you want to leave a mark and make an impact. That's the biggest thing for me. the opportunity here to create something. The challenge is for me the same everywhere, to get the team to play a certain kind of football that gives fans something exciting on a weekly basis and brings success to the club. That's the reason behind what I do. Success for me is winning things, but it's not a desperation, because that's not sustainable. For me, the foundation of it is just to play the game a certain way, which I hope will win things, but also excite the punters. I'm not in this job desperate to win something just to win something. I want this club to win something on a yearly basis, and there's a difference. I want to win every game, trust me, but I don't want to win something for the sake of winning something. I want sustainable success and make sure fans are enjoying watching the team play football. It's not my place to talk about the past and other managers, because I don't think it's fair. The winning mentality is you come in every day and you want to be the best you can be. There is not a manager or player on this planet who does not want to win. But my thing is, it's not just about winning, it's about the way we play. I've said that since I got here, and the players have been open to that. When we get to where we want, by playing how we want, the winning should take care of itself. Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, September 12. Haksabanovic praised by Stoke City. Report by Aidan MacDonald. Celtic loanee Shade Haksabanovic has been praised by Stoke City's head of recruitment, Jared Dublin, who has talked up his tactical ability. The Montenegro international joined the English Championship on a season-long loan deal after struggling for regular game time at Parkhead, and Dublin is delighted to have the forward on the books. He said, "Shade is more of a tight dribbler, jinking type. Maybe he's not one who is going to run with it the length of the pitch, but someone who can drop a shoulder and sit someone down and maybe provide the last pass. He's somebody who has statistically and historically produced goals and assists, and eventually, for all the good football you play, you need someone who can back it up, and somebody who's got that proven quality, which we've found with Shade. He's very big on the tactical side of the game, so he and Alex Neil is like a match made in heaven, considering what Alex is like." Meanwhile, Celtic youth prospect Evan Easton has signed for English Premier League side Sheffield United. The Hoops defender, who joined the club in 2020, never made a first-team appearance for the Scottish champions. He has represented Scotland at several youth levels and can play as a defensive midfielder as well as at centre-back. The 18-year-old featured once for the Celtic B team last season, playing 17 minutes in the UEFA Youth League against Shakhtar Donetsk. Report by Aidan MacDonald. Evening Times Sport, September 13. Bellingham says anthem booing spurred on England. Report by Aidan Smith. Jude Bellingham insists Scotland fans booing the England national anthem helped to spur Gareth Southgate's team on for the win. Steve Clarke's Scots were given something of a reality check in a 3-1 defeat against their rivals in a so-called friendly fixture at Hampden Park. There was a full house in the south side of Glasgow, and the 2,901 English from the 11,197 who had registered interest listened to God Save the King booed loudly by the Tartan army, who had little positive to cheer about. Bellingham said on the national anthem disruption, When you do that to the right team, it can really get under their skin. Today we were so poised, so calm and composed, that it actually kind of boosted us and gave us a real lift going into the game. We are really proud to represent our country, so it's important we showed that in the game. Bellingham was a total standout on the pitch, but the Real Madrid man insists he is still looking to improve further. And he added, "I'm always learning. I'm so lucky to have played with so many great players at my last club, and even more so at my new club. So it's a big boost for me for my own confidence. I am trying to add more attributes to my game, perfect the ones I've got, and keep being effective in front of goal." Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, September 13. Darge on weird prospect of facing Warriors teammate. Report by David Barnes. Rory Darge, who made his Scotland debut against Wales during the 2022 Six Nations and earned only his 12th cap in Sunday's defeat to South Africa in Marseille, has never faced Tonga before. But the open-side flanker has a fair idea of what to expect from the Pacific Islanders when the two sides lock horns on Sunday, having trained and played alongside powerhouse number 8 Sion Velanu at Glasgow Warriors last season. Said Darge, "It will be a weird one. I like watching him when he is in my team. He typifies what they're all about. Big men, physical challenge, similar to what we faced against South Africa, and we can take confidence from how we defended there." Scotland have this weekend off to lick their wounds following their Springbok loss before refocusing on getting their World Cup campaign back on track. Meanwhile, Tonga sat out the opening weekend and will kick off their campaign against Ireland in Bordeaux this Saturday evening. Darge and his teammates will be paying close attention, with the 6 foot 1 inch and 19 stone Valenu, who was a breakthrough star for Glasgow last season following his move north from Worcester Warriors, set to play a key role for the underdogs. "A week off between South Africa and Tonga is great for us," the 23-year-old Glasgow breakaway added. "We are frustrated and would love to get back out there straight away, but both these teams present a huge physical challenge, so I think all the guys in the squad understand that it is good to have a few extra days to let our bodies recover. A lot went into that opening game against South Africa, and it is really disappointing that we were on the wrong side of it in terms of the performance and the result. Now it is time to reset, take a couple of days away from it, refocus, then it is 3 must-win matches to get out of this pool." While generally deflated by the result against South Africa, Darge stressed that the team will draw lessons from the experience, which they can take into their Tonga assignment, followed by Romania the next Saturday, and then Ireland 7 days after that. "We knew that they were going to pressure on us with their line-up speed and at the breakdown, and we just did not deal with it as well as we wanted to," reflected Darge. "There will be the general big learnings, and obviously the start of the second half, when we let them score 2 tries, which left us playing catch-up. Basically, they came out to put us under pressure and disrupted our attacking game, and we will need to be better at giving ourselves time on the ball." Meanwhile, prop Xander Fagerson was also determined to remain positive, expressing his relief that the wait for Scotland's second match will not be the same painful experience as the 2019 World Cup, when the team were hammered 27-3 in their opening match. He recalls, "That was a long 8 days. I remember it, and it is not a pleasant memory. I don't think it's the same this time. We're a much better team after 4 years, but it doesn't matter who you think is coming. You've got to get the results. So we now need to make sure we get the job done against Tonga. It's a long tournament and there's a few twists in the road still to come. We'll take it game by game. So focus turns to Tonga. It's small margins. There was one moment in the game when we were attacking and they, for me, came in from an offside to play the ball, then make a 40-metre break. So all of a sudden, we're in our 22 defending. That's what happens at this level. If you give them a sniff, they are going to take advantage and really punish. We've got a really good scrum as well, which we saw with the penalty we won just before half-time. But that's another area which was a mixed bag, because sometimes we were really good, and sometimes it didn't go our way. We saw glimpses of what we're capable of, but against the world champions we needed an 80-minute performance. Consistency in attack and consistency in breakdown are the two key areas we need to focus on going into Tonga. Report by David Barnes. Evening Times Sport, September 13. Souness lays into Scotland's lack of aggression. Report by Aidan Smith. Graham Souness has slated Scotland's lack of aggression during their Hampden defeat to England last night. Steve Clarke's side were outclassed in Glasgow as Gareth Southgate's side ran out 3-1 winners, thanks to goals from Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane. Scotland was simply second best in front of a sellout crowd, and Souness, who was in the Channel 4 studio, was ultimately left disappointed with Clarke's side. He said, "It was a friendly. If nothing else, you have to empty someone, take a card, get the crowd involved. This is a passionate football crowd, and we gave them nothing to shout about. I accept that England are a fabulous team, but from a Scotland point of view, they could not get the crowd involved because they did not want to show the required aggression. It is a friendly, but it's a Scotland-England game, and when I see in this game players picking each other up off the ground, it shouldn't happen in this game, sorry." It was a sobering night for Scotland. There is an enormous gap between the teams right now. This is a wake-up call for the players. They won't sleep tonight. Steve Clarke stressed Scotland's feel-good factor should remain fully intact despite a 3-1 Hampden Park defeat. When asked how he would go about making sure the 150th anniversary defeat did not dent that feel-good factor, Clarke said, "It hasn't gone. In the competitive group we are in, 5 wins, 15 points. I told the lad the camp has been a success. The most important thing in this camp was to get 3 points in Cyprus. We achieved that. It would have been nice to get a positive result against England to make it even better, but the objective of what we came in to do has been done. Obviously, we did not want to lose to our old enemy, but on the night, England were better. Sometimes you need to take your medicine in football, and we will take our medicine and try to improve. We knew playing against England was going to be difficult. Playing Spain away is going to be difficult. Playing France away is going to be difficult. But if you want to learn as a team, you have to play against good opposition. So we have to go away and learn the lessons and try to be better. This group have always shown they are pretty good in a little bit of adversity. They have always bounced back in good shape, so hopefully next month they can do that. Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, September 14. Former Feyenoord star claims Celtic won't have the ball. Report by Aidan MacDonald. Former Feyenoord star Karim El Amadi has bullishly claimed that Celtic will not have the ball during the upcoming Champions League clash in the Netherlands. The Parkhead club take on the Dutch League winners in Rotterdam on matchday 1, and the former player turned pundit feels Brendan Rodgers' side does not pose much of a threat. Celtic are also in a group with Atletico Madrid and Lazio as they look to progress to the knockout stages for the first time in over 11 years. Despite Arne Slot's side missing key players such as forward Ayase Udida and Santiago Jimenez, Amadi is confident his old club will have too much for the hoops. He told ESPN, "Against Celtic at home, Feyenoord will have the ball a lot. Celtic just won't have the ball. If you then put Minter or Paxale in the strikers, they will not get a lot of space. At home against Celtic, you may have to look for a Stengs as a false striker. You could play without a striker." Report by Aidan MacDonald. Evening Times Sport, September 14. Craig Moore pinpoints factor for Rangers' stuttering start. Report by Ewan Payton. Former Rangers ace Craig Moore has detailed why he believes the Ibrox club has suffered a stuttering start to the season. Michael Beale has watched his side fall to defeat twice in the Premiership with the campaign just over a month old. Kilmarnock beat Rangers on the opening day, while Celtic got one over their arch Glasgow rivals in the derby just before the international break. Rangers have also dropped into the Europa League after PSV comfortably dispatched the Ibrox club in Champions League qualifying. Former Rangers defender Moore believes Beale needs to try to find some consistency with his team selection moving forward, although he admits that can be difficult with so many new players in the squad. The Australian was also keen to defend Sam Lammers after the hefty criticism that has fallen on his shoulders following his big miss against Celtic. Moore told Go Radio's football show, "I think this team has struggled because of the lack of consistency in the starting 11. That's not really allowed partnerships to grow. It's a tough job for Michael Beale to turn this around and find something that's going to work and work immediately. That's basically the situation he finds himself in now." Some Rangers fans might say I'm talking nuts, but I was at the game, and everyone is talking about Lammers' huge miss. His desire, even when he was taking stick, to want to get on the ball and want to be involved in the game. That's what Rangers need. That's what Rangers need just now. He's taking abuse, but he still wants to get on the ball. He still wants to get involved in the game. And that's the type of player that Rangers need a lot more of. They are going to go through a situation now where everyone is under the pump. I watch individuals all the time because I want to learn and find out a little bit more. As I say, that's the one thing that stood out, and that's a quality that I admire because I know it's a quality that's needed at the club. Rangers make the journey to Perth this Saturday as St Johnstone host them at McDermott Park. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, September 14. Jota transfer latest by Aidan MacDonald. Former Celtic star Jota could still leave Al Ittihad despite the transfer window being shut in Saudi Arabia. The Portuguese winger has struggled to make an impact at the Tigers after joining in a £25 million move from Celtic in June. He is yet to start a league fixture for the Saudi Pro League champions, and reports state Al Ittihad are keen to move him on to clear space for more foreign players. Fenerbahce have emerged as a potential loan option for the 24-year-old, with the Turkish window remaining open until tomorrow. Outlet KabarMasser.com reports that the Turkish giants are keen on doing a deal for the forward. It's claimed the clubs remain in contact over a possible loan deal. Report by Aidan MacDonald. Evening Times Sport, September 14. Celtic signing reveals family's love for his new club. Report by Rosie Lewis. He has yet to make his debut for Celtic since joining the club over the summer, but Louis Palma's family are all on board with the move. The Honduran winger shared a photo of his loved ones waving him off at the airport as he returns to Glasgow following international duty. In the image, Palma's mother and father both wore Celtic tops. He captioned the photo, "Los amo," which means "I love them," in his native Spanish. It comes after we reported that Palma enjoyed a stellar performance for his country against Grenada on Tuesday. The 23-year-old scored a goal and provided an assist in the 4-0 victory. Evening Times Sport, September 14. Pogba in decline. The tragic tale of a phenomenal talent unfulfilled. Report by Liam Bryce. Paul Pogba encapsulated it best himself. Football is very beautiful, but it is cruel, he said in a raw, candid interview released over the weekend. Barely 24 hours later, the 30-year-old was staring at the end of his career. Provisionally suspended after failing a drugs test, the Juventus midfielder could now face a 4-year ban if the testosterone found in his system is ruled to have been taken deliberately, something his representatives have vehemently denied, reportedly blaming the result on nutritional supplements. It would be a tragic conclusion to a career which has known more than its fair share already. Long before it materialised in May 2022, a departure from Manchester United felt like the best way for a supremely talented footballer to finally flourish once more. Instead, things have spiralled. 2 months prior, Pogba was allegedly kidnapped near Paris by masked gunmen who demanded he pay protection money in the region of £13 million. His brother Matthias later released a truly bizarre video claiming Pogba had paid an African holy man to place a curse on Kylian Mbappe. His return to Juventus has been plagued by fitness issues, the worst coming as he broke down tearfully only 23 minutes into his second debut for the Serie A club. He has since undergone surgery on persistent knee problems. The ongoing drug controversy is just the latest in a string of problems he has faced, one that could force the conclusion of a career many will regard as unfulfilled. Without context, It seems an odd verdict to pass down on a man who has won the World Cup, 4 Serie A titles, and was once the game's most expensive signing. But then you consider how good Pogba once was, and how good he may have become. There was a feverish excitement surrounding his £89 million comeback to Old Trafford in 2016. He had been the star in a Juventus team littered with them, a young man blessed with extraordinary technical and physical qualities, sumptuous ball control, explosive power, a wicked shot, and an eye for the passes even some of the very best midfielders could not visualise. He should have been the foundation for a new era of success at United, the solution to the post-Ferguson malaise, and yet he somehow just never seemed to fit. With hindsight, we can now safely classify Old Trafford as a career graveyard for a litany of top talents. It has been truly startling how many who had been on a relentless upward trajectory have crashed and burned in an arena once fittingly billed as the theatre of dreams. It is not a term you hear much these days. The likes of Memphis Depay, Alexis Sanchez, and now Jadon Sancho have all had their careers hit the skids in the red corner of Manchester. The debate around Pogba was never one of talent, but how best to utilise him. Restricted in a deep-lying role, not quite suited to playing as a 10, his best days were enjoyed in a Juventus setup that permitted a degree of freedom where he would not be bound to the modern midfield labels. In an era of specialists defined by numbers, Pogba was never a true 6, 8 or 10, and United were never good enough to accommodate a maverick figure for whom concession were required. For all his ability, though, there were persistent issues with consistency. He had an infuriating tendency to follow up moments of astonishing brilliance with unfathomable sloppiness. And then came the sideshows. Pogba had always been a free spirit, but the flamboyancy which would never be an issue in a winning team, as it was in Turin, did not marry as well with the United side, which were too often anything but. That being said, there was a sinister undercurrent to how a harmless penchant for flashy haircuts and social media engagement only ever became an issue after poor results. It now seems obvious he would eventually clash with Jose Mourinho, especially as the former United manager became increasingly more abrasive the longer his tenure at the club dragged wearily on. United fans had been generally supportive with Pogba, but even that relationship began to deteriorate as, with his contract running down, he publicly batted eyelashes at Real Madrid. As United plumbed new depths, Pogba was red-carded for a cynical challenge just minutes after being subbed on with his teammates already 5-0 down to Liverpool in October 2021. That felt very much like the point of no return, and he departed for free at the end of the season. Blame was duly apportioned in all directions, with United accused of mishandling a precocious talent, something many were certain would be proven when he finally broke free of the club. It has not. Pogba did not always help himself either, and whichever way you spin it, the primary conclusion is this was a union which promised so much, yet sadly under-delivered. It would have been heartening to see him rediscover himself in the aftermath, but the past 18 months have been punctuated mainly by sadness. Pogba suffered the loss of his agent and close friend Mino Raiola to cancer in April 2022, while already dealing with the kidnapping allegations and the episode involving his brother. In last weekend's interview, Pogba told Al Jazeera he had considered retiring, wishing he had never found money and fame, while hinting at something that sounds a lot like loneliness. "Sometimes I don't want to have money anymore," he said. "I just don't want to play anymore. I just want to be with normal people, so they will love me, not for the fame, not for the money." Pogba may yet be cleared of the doping accusations, but he sounds like a man who already feels defeated by the pitfalls of being a global superstar. And for a player who was a joy to behold in full flight, it's hard not to feel saddened by how it has all unfolded, says Liam Bryce. Evening Times Sport, September 14. Scotland women's team withdraw legal claim against SFA. Report by Ewan Payton. A legal claim by the Scotland women's national team has been withdrawn, the Scottish FA has confirmed. An agreement was reached with the SFA and the national team over equality and pay for players. Players for the Scottish national team were seeking a contract with the governing body to ensure equal pay and treatment compared to their male counterparts on a variety of issues such as training facilities, hotels, travel, kit plus medical and nutritional resources. It is stated that the players are pleased that the matter has been resolved without the need for tribunal proceedings in a joint statement by the SFA and the Scotland women's team. Ian Maxwell, Scottish FA Chief Executive, said, "The growth of women's football is one of the Scottish FA's highest strategic priorities. We have reiterated our commitment to equality, specifically with regard to commercial appearances, prize money distribution, and resources. We must now look forward with a shared goal to return to major tournaments, working together to bring success on the field that will in turn encourage broadcasters and rights holders to do more to bridge the value gap that remains the biggest obstacle on the journey to equality within the women's game globally." Rachel Corsie, Scotland women's national team, said, "I am glad that we have been able to find a resolution, avoiding the need for a tribunal. The legal route is one that nobody wanted to undertake, but positive discussions have taken place during the intervening period with mutual respect, understanding and cooperation. As captain, I believe we have a responsibility to push for the highest standards on and off the field. The Scottish FA has made significant inroads in this regard, and together we are on an evolutionary journey. We are proud to have parity, not just for the current generation, but more significantly for future generations of players. The Scottish FA has made significant inroads in this regard, and together we are on an evolutionary journey. We are proud to have parity, not just for the current generation, but more significantly for future generations of players." Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, September 15. Rangers boss Beale offers insight into discussions with Ibrox board. Report by Aidan Smith. Michael Beale has offered an insight into his discussions with the Rangers board after a disappointing start to the season. The Englishman is under pressure after the Ibrox club crashed out of the Champions League and also lost to Celtic before the international break. Fans vented their frustration after Rangers lost to their rivals in the first derby fixture of the Premiership season, and some on social media have called for Beale to go. The former Queen's Park Rangers boss is confident he can turn things around, and he has been assured that he has the full support of the Ibrox board. Asked if he had held discussions with the hierarchy, Beale responded, "Yes, naturally. I speak to James Bisgrove every day. I speak to John Bennett and other members of the board at least 2 or 3 times a week as normal. Nothing has changed in that respect. We have sat and discussed this first period up until the September international break, like we do at all the international breaks. It is a chance for reflection. Listen, I don't need assurances. I am part of a plan in terms of where we are going as a club. It is something that I am fully aware and involved in. Ultimately, a football manager has to win games of football. The last 2 we did not win, so we need to get back to winning ways. We have 7 games in 22 days, so we have a good opportunity to do that now. I am disappointed with the results, just like everyone else. Small margins can make a big difference in football, and in the last one, I think that was the case." Asked how he does reflect on the start of the season, Beale added, "Well, it is disappointing the way the last 3 or 4 games went for sure. They were 2 big games, and results did not go the way that we wanted. That is the reality of it. There have been some good things, there have been things that we certainly have to improve on, and that has been the honest reflection." Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, September 15. Footballers with dementia should get financial help, says MP. Report by Morgan Carmichael. An MP has said footballers who develop dementia should receive financial support. Ian Blackford, former SNP Westminster leader, has called for dementia among footballers to be classified as an industrial injury, which would allow them greater access to financial and professional support. It comes after a series of studies have exposed links between heading a football and the development of neurodegenerative diseases. Back in 2019, a landmark University of Glasgow study revealed that former professional footballers were 3.5 times more likely to die after developing dementia. Dr. Willie Stewart, who led the study, called for better management of head injuries during matches and said all contact sports needed to take steps to reduce the risks. The Professional Footballers Association, the trade union for footballers, have now set up a fund to support affected players. Lisbon Lions Billy McNeill and Stevie Chalmers, and former Scotland manager Ali MacLeod, are just some of the better-known Scottish stars who have died from neurodegenerative diseases. In the House of Commons, Blackford said, "So many of those suffering, as well as their families, face challenging, distressing times, often without the support that would make a difference both in terms of professional and financial support. Dementia suffered by these players should be classed as an industrial injury. This reclassification would not only provide much-needed financial and social support, but also as parliamentarians, it is up to all of us to demand that the UK government and the devolved administrations use their powers to support those that need early intervention, appropriate care and support. I think what we have to recognise is that the people we are talking about, the Jeff Astles and the thousands of people that are suffering, these were often people that were paid an average industrial wage. Often they were having to rely on other family members, or they are having to give up work early, because let's remember that football players very often went into other careers. Also speaking during the debate, SNP's Kirsten Oswald highlighted the lack of comprehensive research into the impact of women hitting the football. She said, "We just do not know what the impact on women is of hitting the ball in football, and the more that we see women playing football, and the more that women are playing football, the more pressing it is that we close that gap in research, and we do so pretty sharpish, because women and girls footballers deserve far better than that. So research and further discussion, I think, are necessary as a matter of urgency." Report by Morgan Carmichael. Evening Times Sport, September 15. Richie Ramsey lurks in second place at BMW PGA Championship. Report by Nick Roger. When it comes to golf and all its related subtleties, nuances, and occasional absurdities, Richie Ramsey often resembles that sculpture of The Thinker, which depicts a heroic man in sober meditation, battling with a powerful internal struggle. Ramsey, of course, is not perched on a rock in the Scuddy, but you get the idea. I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night thinking about where I am at the top of my backswing, said the Scot of his nocturnal philosophising. Ramsey would have slept well last night, mind you. A delightfully engineered 6-under 66 on day one of the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth had him riding high on the leaderboard in a share of second, 2 behind the early front-runner Marcus Hellenkild, who barged his way to the top with a lively 64. Having sorted out a few gremlins in the technicalities of his swing under the shrewd eye of his coach Ian Ray, Ramsey was in fine fettle on the West Coast yesterday as he opened his bid for a 5th DP World Tour title with considerable zeal. It didn't start too promisingly, with a bogey on the 3rd, but a birdie on the next was a rapid-fire repair job, before gains at 8, 10, 11 and 12 got him bounding along quite the thing. A finishing flourish, which included birdie putts of 25 feet on 17 and 8 feet on 18, capped a fine day in the Surrey sunshine as he finished alongside former United States Open champion Matt Fitzpatrick. On the big stage in front of vast crowds, Ramsey rose to the occasion. "I love it, but there's no doubt that I get nervous," said the 40-year-old, whose best finish in the DP World Tour's flagship was 6th in 2019. "I learned, though, that getting butterflies is quite cool. This is what you want. I love the pressure on the first tee, even just as a club member, when the bar is full and you're playing a monthly medal. We all get nervous." With every member of Europe's 12-man Ryder Cup team competing this week, The jam-packed galleries made the nearby M25 look like a sedate B-road. The marquee group of Rory McIlroy, Victor Hovland, and man of the moment Ludwig Aberg was the three-ball they all wanted to see, but that glitzy trio was upstaged by the sprightly endeavours of Helen Gilkey, the 26-year-old, looking to become just the second Dane after the two-time champion Ander Hansen to win the BMW PGA title, packed 10 birdies into an eventful round. And the secret to his success? I did it by hitting it terribly on the range, he said. I asked my coach, what should I do? And he said, you're probably going to play great. And that's what happened. It's a daft old game. As for that aforementioned showpiece grouping, well, McIlroy toiled to a humdrum 72. Hovland had a decent 69, and Aberg, the young Swede, who only joined the pro ranks in June, but is heading for the Ryder Cup, opened with a 68. The 23-year-old wowed the masses, with 5 birdies in a row from the 11th, but his assault was tempered on the 17th, when he plunged his tee shot out of bounds and racked up a double bogey 7. A closing birdie soothed some of that wound, said Aberg. The 17th was a little bit stupid, but other than that I felt like I hit the ball great, and I'm really happy with the way I played. On a good day for the Scots contingent in the field, Connor Syme continued his fine form with a 5 under 67 to tuck himself into a share of 4th. The 28-year-old Pfeiffer, who has finished 7th, 3rd and 4th in his last 3 tour outings, stumbled to a bogey on the 1st, but a raking eagle putt of some 30 feet on the 4th ignited his day. Callum Hill opened with a 4 under 68, while veteran campaigner Stephen Gallagher, who has built up a decent body of work in this parish down the years, posted a 69. He was joined on that mark by the defending champion Shane Lowry, with John Rahm, runner-up at Wentworth in 2022 and 2019, 2 shots back on 71. Danny Willett, the champion in 2019, had been 6 under standing on the 15th tee, but leaked 5 shots on a grisly run-in and had to settle for a 1 under card. Ryder Cup recruit Robert McIntyre had a 72, reports Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, September 15. Jota wanted Celtic return. Report by Aidan MacDonald. Former Celtic star Jota would not have hesitated over a return to the club, as he continues to look for a way out of Saudi Arabian champions Al Ittihad. The winger has yet to start a league game for the Tigers since joining for £25 million in June, and appears to no longer be part of Nuno Espirito Santo's plans. Clubs in Saudi Arabia are only allowed to register 8 foreign players in their squad each season, and the arrival of defender Louis Philippe from Real Betis takes that number at Al Ittihad to 9. And it is now claimed by Al Ittihad insider Hamid Al-Balawi that Jota and goalkeeper Marcelo Grohe could be dropped from the squad list. He also states that the 24-year-old would have been keen on a loan return to Parkhead before the window closed in Scotland. Speaking to Saudi TV, he said, "The player would not have hesitated to return to Celtic, but cannot choose that option. Now we have Fenerbahce, The departure of Grohe is a form of madness. For the team, he is a safety valve. The first choice for managing the club must be to find a club for Jota. He is not at the level of ambition. Report by Aidan MacDonald. Evening Times Sport, September 15. Rangers face Todd Cantwell injury blow. Report by Aidan Smith. Rangers manager Michael Beale has revealed that Todd Cantwell will miss the club's few fixtures due to an injury picked up against Celtic. The Englishman was involved in a challenge with Dazen Maeda during the Ibrox contest, and he received lengthy treatment after that, despite playing the full 90 minutes. Beale has now revealed that the midfielder will miss the next 3 or 4 games after his injury was assessed over the international break. The Ibrox manager also confirmed that Kieran Dowell is carrying an injury, but there was positive news on Kemar Roofe and Tom Lawrence. Beale explained, "The strongest team will play the next game. Tom Lawrence is now fully fit. Roofe is in a really good place. Unfortunately, Todd Cantwell will miss the next 3 or 4 games, and Dowell will also miss out. Todd was an issue with his knee in a challenge towards the end of the game. He should be returning in 3 or 4 weeks. Kieran Dowell is now back jogging and should be 3 or 4 weeks away also." Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, September 18. Gemma Dryburgh relishing Solheim Cup debut in Spain. Report by Nick Rodger. When it comes to wild cards being dished out in team golf, there tends to be a lot of clandestine nod and a wink dealings going on. Gemma Dryburgh, for instance, was given a hush-hush heads-up that she would be one of Suzanne Peterson's picks for the European Solheim Cup team about a month before the official announcement was made on the made-for-television Stars in Their Eyes style unveiling. Keeping mum on such classified information was a bit like having advanced knowledge of the D-Day landings and trying not to blurt out the secrets down at the local. But Dryburgh managed to remain tight-lipped. Well, almost. "It was very difficult, and I did tell my parents, and they were obviously buzzing," said the Scot with a smile. "Susan actually came up to me during lunch, after the second or third round at the Evian Championship in July, and said to me, 'You are looking good. No need to worry any more.' It was very nice of her to do that, as it relaxed me a bit. She obviously told me to keep it to myself, as it was a few weeks before the announcement. But it was tricky. The golf writers were asking about it, and though I was obviously quite confident after what Susan had to say, you never really know until the official announcement, so I didn't want to take it for granted. Getting the nod from Peterson, the decorated Solheim Cup stalwart, who hold the winning putt in that epic, unforgettable duel with the United States at Gleneagles in 2019, remains a moment to cherish for Dryburgh. And she says, "I was lucky enough to be there at Gleneagles in 2019, when she holed that amazing putt at the end. Now she's my captain. It's a bit of a full circle moment. I've watched her over the years playing on tour and admired her so much. For her to give me a captain's pick is very special." Just under a decade ago, Dryburgh was a selection panel pick. It doesn't have the same dramatic ring as a wild card, does it? For the Curtis Cup during her final year as an amateur in 2014. That was the peak of the Aberdonians' career in the unpaid ranks, and the memories of it remain embedded in the mind, as if seared on with a branding iron. And she says, "That was probably the most nervous I have been in my career, but I'm sure the Solheim Cup will top that." Driver has always revelled in the team atmosphere, having been a keen footballer before golf became her favoured pursuit. And she continues, "I remember being very nervous at the Cutters Cup. I couldn't feel my legs, they were numb. Hopefully I can deal with it better this time. That was nearly 10 years ago, and my game has come on a bit since then. I have great memories of the Cutters Cup. At that stage it was the pinnacle of the amateur game, and I'm very excited at the thought of reliving that experience, obviously on a bigger stage." The stage for the Solheim Cup, meanwhile, is the Finca Cortezan Resort near Malaga, and Driver is hoping to shine on the Costa del Sol. After a few sturdy seasons spent chipping away on the LPGA Tour, the 30-year-old made the kind of leap that Neil Armstrong chatted on about when she earned a breakthrough win on the circuit in Japan at the end of 2022, and then vaulted herself into the world's top 50. 2 years ago, Driver watched Europe retain the Solheim Cup on the television in America. Here, in 2023, she will be part of a side aiming for an unprecedented third win in a row. Watching that back then, the Solheim Cup felt a little bit far away for me, but I still believe my game was trending in the right direction, said Driver, who will become the 7th Scot to play in the biennial tussle. "This is something I had dreamt about ever since I decided that I wanted to play golf for a living. To be part of Team Europe is going to be amazing. It's still giving me goosebumps just thinking about it, and it probably won't fully sink in until I get there. The wait is almost over," says Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, September 18. Feyenoord warned, Celtic are no cakewalk. Feyenoord legend Wim van Hanegem was part of the iconic team that became the first Dutch side to win the European Cup when they defeated Celtic in the 1970 final. But he has warned the current Feyenoord side that Brendan Rodgers' team will not roll over in Rotterdam after being impressed by their Asian quartet. The Hoops open their Champions League group stage game with a difficult encounter against Arne Slot's men. Van Hanegem played in Milan in the final against Celtic 53 years ago, where they won 2-1 after extra time, after captain Renus Israel cancelled out Tommy Gemmel's opener, before Swedish striker Ove Kindvall grabbed the winner 3 minutes from the end of extra time to break Celtic hearts and stop them winning what would have been their second European Cup in 4 years. However, the 69-year-old, who went on to lead Feyenoord to a Dutch title as manager, reckons this could be a tricky evening for his former club. He said, "People think Feyenoord will win easily against both Celtic this week and Ajax on Sunday. Well, a lot can change in football in a few days. Of course I hope that Celtic are defeated, but I certainly do not believe they will be overpowered the way Feyenoord did to Heerenveen at the weekend when they won 6-1. A lot of people have been knocking on my door asking about the 1970 final, but I am afraid I don't sit at home with scrapbooks on my lap. Celtic in 2023 only resembles Celtic in 1970 in terms of the shirts. I hope Feyenoord win, but I have seen those Japanese players, Kyogo, Ryo Hatate, Daisen Maeda from Celtic at work a few times, and the South Korean Yang. Believe me, this will be no cakewalk for Feyenoord. Quite the contrary, in fact. Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, September 18. Glasgow kickboxers triumph at Junior World Championships. Report by Anne Fotheringham. 4 talented kickboxers from Glasgow have triumphed in the Junior World Championships in Turkey. The quartet returned home to Beyliston, where they are members of Bravehearts Martial Arts, with an astonishing 7 gold medals and 1 bronze. Madison Brown, aged 12, Kenzo Cambridge, aged 12, Maya Bisley, aged 13, and Sophie Heron, aged 15, travelled to Istanbul earlier this month after being selected by Kickboxing Great Britain to represent Britain among the best fighters in Europe. Coaches Ian O'Hare, Megan Brown and Melissa Brown are over the moon following the club's success, and Ian said, "We had unbelievable success, winning a total of 8 medals in 9 categories. That is an incredible achievement. They were up against competitors who are the best in Europe, if not the world. Getting selected to the Great Britain team is a difficult task in itself, so to then go on and win so many medals is amazing. We are delighted so many winners have come from our club and from Scotland. Madison Brown won a bronze medal, Sophie won gold, Kenzo picked up 2 golds, and Maya won 4 golds. The coaches, who travelled with the students and were delighted to support them every step of the way, said it was an inspirational trip, and Ian added, "It was a very emotional week that almost felt too good to be true. The hard work, dedication, and the overall will to win that these kids shown was nothing short of amazing. They are a true inspiration for all back home at the club." Report by Anne Fotheringham. Evening Times Sport, September 18. Rogers backs Kyogo to complete final challenge. Report by Ewan Booth Robertson. As silence descended on Ibrox, Kyogo reeled off joyously to celebrate with his teammates in the unsettling absence of away fans. It was yet another brilliant instinctive finish from a player who has repeatedly silenced any critics since joining Celtic. Ignorance accompanied Kyogo's arrival in Glasgow, as some questioned whether a relatively unknown striker was good enough to become Celtic's main man. 20 goals despite an injury-disrupted debut season ended any debate, but discerning voices pointed to his inability to score against Rangers. Kyogo's sublime winner in the first Old Firm of the season was his 6th goal in 5 games against Rangers. Another criticism ended. The 28-year-old has been a revelation at Parkhead, but scoring in the Champions League represents the final challenge. Kyogo failed to register a goal in European football's premier club competition, as Celtic finished bottom of their group, but Brendan Rodgers has every confidence that he will avenge that. "Well, he's a top-class finisher, there's no doubt about that," Rodgers replied when asked if Kyogo was Champions League quality. "I think he was out injured, wasn't he, last season, and then coming back. This will be great for him. He's definitely got the qualities to go and shine at that level. He's fast, he's direct, He's a good finisher. He's constant in his pressure. That is the level, and when you look at other top strikers around Europe, they normally have those attributes. Kyogo's profligacy in front of goal in last season's group stages was at odds with his usual lethal finishing. Despite facing quality opposition against Real Madrid, Leipzig and Shakhtar Donetsk, Celtic's determination to maintain their attacking principles yielded chances. Kyogo, however, spurned numerous opportunities, but Rodgers insists the Japanese international will have learned from his Champions League experiences. Rodgers added, "I don't think he's under pressure. He's certainly not under any pressure from here. It's just such a clinical level, you have to take your chances. The experiences of last year will help. I always say to them, you win or you learn. You never lose, you learn." I'm pretty sure the experiences of last season will help them. I can already sense the excitement of coming into the competition and seeing if we can do a wee bit better result-wise. Kyogo survived a first-half injury scare to score his fourth goal of the season against Dundee, and he will lead the line in Rotterdam tomorrow night. Feyenoord, Lazio and Atletico Madrid represent a tricky group, and Celtic will need to reverse their dreadful recent European record to preserve any ambitions of qualifying for the knockout stages. Celtic's last win in the Champions League arrived 7 years ago under Rodgers with a 3-0 away win to Anderlecht, and they've not won at Parkhead in the group stage of the competition for a decade. Rodgers admitted on that Anderlecht win, "It's a long time ago, but it was a great night and it was great for the supporters. You need a lot of things to go your way in the Champions League to get the results. As long as we look to give everything in the games and stay strong and stay together, we have shown at Rangers that we have that togetherness and that personality. It is about letting that show." On Celtic's home record, Rodgers added, "It's more about where the levels in the game have gone. We had a really good game against Bayern Munich, just lost out. The game is about levels. You saw it the other night in the Scotland-England game. Scotland are a really good team. They've beaten Spain, and yet England have some of the best players in the world. You're trying to create something that can challenge that." Celtic endured some heavy defeats in the Champions League during Rodgers' first tenure. They conceded 12 goals across 2 games to PSG in 2017, and Rodgers is determined to ensure that history does not repeat itself. And he admitted, "When you lose any game, it is always difficult. If you lose heavily, it's never nice. You know the players have given their all, and they have just come across world-class talent. With Barcelona, 4-0 was par for what they were doing to most teams in La Liga. Better teams than us. It was that going into the last 10 minutes, and then they scored 3 more, and it put some salt and pepper on the result. PSG, we were 1-0 up too early. We actually had Craig Gordon to thank for making a couple of great saves. So it is hard as a professional, and you have to fight. As long as the players have given absolutely everything, then if you get undone with sheer quality, then I understand what can happen against players of top quality. It's not nice, but you have to grieve and get on with it. Europe offers a different challenge than Celtic are used to domestically. They will not dominate possession, and their defence, missing the influential Cameron Carter-Vickers, will face increased scrutiny, and Rodgers will adopt a more conservative approach. And he admitted, "It is about educated pressure. You have to look to impose your way, and give them something to think about, and play without fear, but know that you have to defend and defend well. You can't always be pressing high. Sometimes you will be forced back. But that happened to us in the last game as well. Any top team, no matter how good you are, you're going to have periods when you don't have the ball. It's just about staying strong in those moments. Evening Times Sport, September 18. Rangers legend Ronnie McKinnon dies aged 83. Report by Stuart Wilson. Rangers legend Ronnie McKinnon has died aged 83, the club have announced. He played for the Ibrox side for 12 years and won 2 league titles, 4 Scottish Cups and 3 League Cups. The central defender spent his entire professional career in Scotland with Rangers, making more than 500 appearances between 1960 and 1972. McKinnon featured 28 times for Scotland and was also inducted into the Rangers Hall of Fame. An official club statement read, "Everyone associated with Rangers Football Club is saddened to learn of the passing of former player Ronnie McKinnon at the age of 83. McKinnon, a Hall of Fame member, won 2 league titles, 4 Scottish Cups and 3 League Cups, while he was also capped 28 times by Scotland. The club extends our sympathy to Elizabeth, his widow, and all his family. The family requests that their privacy is respected at this sad time. The club will pay further tribute to Mr. McKinnon in due course." Report by Stuart Wilson.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service.